your DOC.
Thang Lai, 468450.
Mr. Lay, my name is Cheryl Renatza. This is Mr. Roche to my left, Mrs. Wise to my right. We are your parole panel this morning.
Yes.
Let me just ask you, I'm going to read some information into the record.
All right.
Mr. Lay, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 99-year sentence for attempted second-degree murder, armed robbery, and cruelty to a juvenile. Your parole eligibility date was March 6, 2022. Mr. Lay, is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me acknowledge we do have a representative from the DA's office in Jefferson Parish who's asked to speak, and we'll ask him to do so at the appropriate time. Do you have any trouble understanding English?
I can understand pretty good. I learned pretty good English now.
Okay, good. If you do not understand, be sure to ask us to
Yes,
let us know, okay?
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
case has been assigned to Mr. Roche. Answer his
Yes.
question.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Lane.
How you doing, Mr. Roche?
Good. Mr. Lane, you're currently 49 years old, am I correct? You're 49 years old, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've been incarcerated for about 21 years, is that correct?
21 going 22. Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me why you're incarcerated. Why are you incarcerated? What did you do?
I was at that time I was working, but I was
What did you do? What did you do to get convicted?
armed robbery.
Well,
Committed the crime, armed robbery, attempted murders, and cruelty to juvenile. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me tell you what you did. You committed a brutal crime. You strangled your victim until she was unconscious 3 different times. During the robbery of her apartment, you stuck her and a 9-year-old daughter in a shower under hot water. You threw a 9-year-old across the room simply because she would not tell you where her money was. Does that sound about right?
Yes, sir.
How cruel can you get?
I guess there can be no.
Tell me why.
I was out of my mind because I was in crack cocaine. That was the drug of my joy.
Okay, now we're on drugs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain to me 17 years later, 18 years later, 2020 to 2022, you have 11 Class B write-ups, 4 for contraband, 4 for aggravated disobedience, and 3 for defiance. Your last write-up was only 13 or 14 months ago. Why are you still a violent person today?
Because I am a changed person. It take me a lot of time, a lot of years for me to grow up to understand, but I'm come to the point in my life now. I understand that, I waste my whole life. I come from a third world country. I come from Vietnam. I'm a war baby, and I never.
So, I need you just to answer my question.
Yes, sir.
I don't need editorial. Okay, tell me what programs you've taken that you're now in 2023, you're a change man. What program did you take?
The more I have been taking a lot of programs, but the more important one is the BMP program. The BMP program here at Camp C is a behavior management program. It's also a drug residential program.
Okay, now let me tell you, Mr. Lay,
Yes.
you have a conviction for resisting the officer while you were incarcerated. The original charge was aggravated second-degree battery. You have a conviction while you're incarcerated. I still see the violent person that when you robbed a lady and threw a baby across the room and put a 9-year-old in a shower under scalding hot water. The disciplinary conduct is unacceptable. You have opposition from law enforcement. You have opposition from the DA's office. And you have some more work to do. You have a federal detainer, the immigration department. So you have a lot of work to do. You need to get your mind right, get with the officials at Louisiana State Penitentiary, and get into some programs to solve your drug and your anger problem.
Can I?
So,
I'm sorry.
Madam Chairman.
Did you drop something?
No. I in my bag. I was gonna show some.
Certificates, we have all that. We got it.
Oh, okay.
Is there anything you want to
sorry.
say?
I'm sorry.
No, everything is correct. He do have a detainer with immigration. But immigration has informed us that they will pick him up, but they will not hold him if they were to get him, that he will be released back to society. So
Okay.
I wrote down some stuff that I think that he probably should be enrolled in. So I'm gonna take y'all recommendation and wait to see what y'all gonna say.
Thank you. Meyer.
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. The facts of the crime are one thing that should be considered in these parole hearings. And as Mr. Roche went through the facts, he's pretty brutal facts. And I agree, he remains a dangerous individual. He has limited programming. He took anger management back in 2011, but since then, and just since 2020, he's had 5 aggravated disobedience write-ups. 2022, he had 2 aggravated disobedience write-ups, 41 total write-ups. He's had from 2019 to 2021, 5 write-ups for contraband. I think it's clearly not appropriate to release him to a detainer because they're gonna release him back to society where he can get back and continue with his brutal activities. I think it's, I guess that's sufficient. We're strongly opposed to his request. Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Lay, is there anything you want to tell us? What do you want to tell us?
Yes, I just want to bring up the fact that I just want an opportunity to live, to do right. I came over here when I was young, 13, 14 years old, and I wasted my whole life. I'm making the wrong choice, wrong decision. I couldn't have made a better choice, based on life, but it just, everything I made, I'm not blaming on nobody. This is all on me. I I never really have a good role model. You know, I grew up without the father or the mother. My mother is the American soldiers in the military. That's how they met my mom in Vietnam, and they got killed before I even come about. And you know, I made wrong choice all my life, the wrong choice. You know, I got brought all the way over here and given opportunity to American champ, but I was uh, in drug and in and out and doing that, and I never realized what I was doing until I waste my whole life. And I come to realize my whole life that I was a taker. You know, I never done anything for anything for anyone. And this is like in the last 10 of my life, and I would just ask for mercy for an opportunity where I can just, you know, change my life, and where I can, um, you know, there's a lot of young guy out there, and I feel like they need to hear my testimony and my story.
I
For
agree, Mr. Lay, but you've got some more work to do. You haven't demonstrated to us that you're ready to do all the things that you say you want to do. You know, your prison conduct, your prison record is poor. So, thank you,
Well,
sir. I think we are prepared to vote. Mr. Shea will be voting first.
Mr. Lay, based on your general disciplinary conduct, you have 11 Class B write-ups between the years of 2020 and 2022, the extreme history of violence and express opposition from the entire legal community. My vote is to deny your request.
This is wise.
Mr. Lay, I'm glad to hear that you realize what you've done. You can start changing it whenever you get ready, and it'll show up in your disciplinary history. It'll show up there. So my vote is the same for the same reasons I already stated on the record.
All right, and I do agree, Mr. Lay, you've got more work to do, a lot more work to do. My vote today is deny, based on the nature of the crime, the opposition that's been expressed. So today, sir, your parole's been denied.
thank you for your consideration.
I'll go over the details of the crime that he committed with you soon, and it is even worse than Mr. O'Shea described and Randy described. It is actually one of the worst cases I think we've seen. You know, the way it started with him actually laughing when asked to describe his crime. He was laughing, and then Mr. O'Shea killed it. I'm so happy Mr. O'Shea and not Miss Wise was the one to take this interview. You threw a 9-year-old across the room. How cruel can you get? Well, it gets more cruel. We're going to go over it now. And I will give you a warning. This is something you might want to pass up on. It affected me more than others. You know, there's something when someone comes into a room to have and they're wearing a big crucifix around their necks, it's never worked out well. I don't know why they think it's gonna help them, but it's never been a good omen. On March 2001, her husband and their 4 children lived in an apartment. They spoke Vietnamese and testified at the trial through an interpreter. The children, 3 girls and 1 boy, all under the age of 10. TL was the eldest child. on her birth date. She was 9 years old at the time of the incident, March 22nd, 2001. Now, Miss Lee was home with her children, so her husband wasn't there. The apartment was partially locked, only with a security chain. So when Miss Lee heard the chain being removed and turned to see the defendant, a man known as our defendant here, recognized the defendant right away and smiled at him to greet him because she knew who he was. Well, Miss Lee became afraid, however, when the second man entered the apartment. Miss Lee testified the men were wearing hooded jackets and were attempting to cover their faces by folding their collars above the jackets of their teeth. What idiots that, like, it's a small community, I'm sure. They all know each other, and that's how they try to. So each man was armed with a knife, and they placed the knives at her throat. They ordered Miss Lee to kneel on the floor and demanded money. Miss Lee gave the defendant her necklace. The defendant bound her hands behind her back. He bound the hands of all of three of her daughters and ordered them to their knees. The accomplice was in Miss Lee's room while the defendant demanded money. The defendant told her to get the money or else he would choke her or stab her to death. They explained that the accomplice had already found the money in Miss Lee's purse, so Miss Lee told him that she had no money. The defendant choked her around her neck. The defendant cut a piece of cloth from her shirt and put it in her mouth, as well as the mouth of her children. I'm sorry about the lawnmower in the background. There's just nothing I can do about that. All the children were crying. So he cut the cloth and he put it in her mouth and her children's mouths. All the children were crying. Can you imagine you're in your home and two people invade you with knives? Miss Lee testified that when her 11-month-old son attempted, wow, the sound of this lawnmower is really good. My office is in like it's in a garage, a finished garage, so I'm right. The insulation's not my office, it's my home office. It's in a garage that was converted. And this is the part that makes me start to cry. So her 11-month-old son attempted to remove the cloth from her mouth. 11-month-old little baby attempted to take the cloth out of his mommy's mouth. And here's what this cockroach did. Grabbed her son by his hand and slammed him to the floor. 11-month-old boy. Miss Lee testifies that the child was crying and his face was scratched. It gets more tragic. The defendant turned to the children and told them that he would kill them if they did not tell him where the money was located. Why he thought they had money, who knows? Miss Lee testified that TL, so this is her son, gave her piggy bank to him. She had a piggy bank. And she gave it to this monster. You can't make it up. TL testified that she also found additional few dollars in the purse. Miss Lee testified that her second child, WL, begged the defendant not to kill them and told the defendant that Miss Lee often kept money in a pillow. So the defendant tried to open the pillow, but when he saw there was no money, he punched the child. Then he rolled up the shirt and wrapped it around her neck, holding the shirt. The defendant, he drags her to the bathroom, pulled the shirt with both his hands until she lost consciousness. She came to, and the accomplice entered the room and spoke to the defendant in English. The defendant then cursed her and told her that he knew she had money and that he was going to tell her where it was located. And if she wasn't, then he would pour hot water on her children. This is what Mr. O'Shea was talking about. The defendant brought the children into the room, and he begged him not to kill the children and told him that he would give them money if she had any. And obviously she didn't. The defendant put TL into the bathtub, remember TL's her children, and placed her face up under the faucet. This is face up. Then the defendant turned the hot water on. Miss Lee saw the steam coming from the water as TL cried. Miss Lee pleaded with the defendant to leave her children alone and to kill her. Instead, the defendant struck Miss Lee and placed her to the tub of hot water, standing on Miss Lee's foot and crying. The defendant went out of the room and returned. Miss Lee again threatened to kill her if she did not give him the money. The accomplice entered and said he would kill them all if they did not have any money. Miss Lee said that the defendant choked her so hard she could not breathe, and then she lost consciousness. That was the second time she had lost consciousness. Her siblings thought that her mother was dead. When she came to, the children were surrounding her, begging her not to die. You can't even describe this more tragically in the worst kind of tragic movies. After a while, Miss Lee woke. When she came to, surrounding her, the family was eventually able to untie each other and escape from the bathroom. The robbers had barricaded the outside door with a playpen. The police called the detective to the department and said Miss Lee was crying and was very upset, no kidding. Still had duct tape wrapped around her. They were drenched, and the 11-month-old had redness and swelling around his face. An 11-month-old. Miss Lee gave a statement a few days later with the assistance of the Vietnamese interpreter. It's unbelievable. Miss Lee testified that she had $1,900 in her purse and that her necklace was a jade pendant. She testified that her neck silver. If they got $1,900, why would they not have been happy about that? What? These were crack addicts. They should have. Who has $1,900 in her purse? That's a ton of money. They were pissed off that they only got $1,900. They argued that it was excessive sentence. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine having to be an attorney to try to defend this man and even write an appeal? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, if you want any any type of satisfaction in thinking that I don't know this for certain, but I can't imagine that he has done very well in prison. In prison, it's very cliquey. You have groups. I can't imagine there being a group that he would a large Thai group in Angola prison. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone can tell me. That man should never get out. You just the way he came into here with like no understanding of his crime, laughing about what when he spoke about it, to do that to family. He destroyed, he changed the course of all their lives. And then he laughs about it. This man does not deserve to see the light of day. With that, I'll let you go.